All right, well, welcome to Black Pill Radio. I'm your host, Mr. Tyler. Today we are going to be talking about online schooling, online learning. It's the new thing that a lot of us educators and parents are dealing with in this coronavirus crisis that we're all going through. I got four panelists with me today. I'm going to have them introduce themselves and then we'll get started. So we'll start from the top of my box. I see Letitia.
Okay. My name's Letitia Fraser. I have been in education for about 15 years, in mostly elementary school. Right now, I am a kindergarten teacher at a charter school in Queens. I've been at this charter school for about 5 years and navigating teaching kindergarten online. So.
And then we'll go with Andrea.
Hi, everyone. My name is Andrea Tab Smith, pronoun she, her, hers. I was a classroom teacher for 12 years. I taught first, third, and fourth grade during that time. I'm also a mom of two, and I currently support teachers as they put in the work to revamp their classroom libraries and restructure curriculum so that people of color are celebrated and centered. And that's what I do. Happy
Excellent.
to be here.
Thank you. Melissa?
Hi, I'm Melissa Velasquez. I am currently the head writer and owner of Just a BX Mom, which is a lifestyle parenting blog. My career started in youth development where I designed curriculum and ran after school programs for middle school, elementary school, and high school students. And I'm the mom of a 7-year-old first grader that goes to a Bronx charter school.
Excellent. And Kwame? So Kwame, you're next.
All right, thank you. Nice to meet you all. My name is Kwame Phillips. I am a university educator here in Brooklyn, New York. I teach middle school science, and that's from 6 to 8, grade 6 to 8. Right now, this year, I have both 6th and 7th grade teaching science, and I've been working for about 4 years at the same school here in Brooklyn.
So I'm going to go to Letitia first. What has this whole online schooling thing, what does it mean to you? Because people are a little confused, and schools and districts are doing all of this differently across America. So from your perspective and what you've been experiencing, what is online schooling right now meaning to you?
Well, we basically were given like 5 days to learn Zoom, learn Google Classrooms, figure out how to turn whatever packets were given to children into lessons, or whatever lessons you already had planned before this happens into lessons that are going to work online. So it's been a challenge. It was like a good challenge, actually, just to kind of like, I kind of needed a shake up. So this was a good shake up for me, but I think a lot of my colleagues had a really hard time adjusting to taking their lessons and then trying to figure that out online. And so that's been a little tricky. I spent most of the week just trying to find all of my parents. I thought I had all of their information, but then I realized that I did not have as many people as I thought. And so most of it was spent trying to get them all online and then trying to explain to them how to use it, and then trying to explain to them how to navigate having their kid use a computer. So that's probably been the most challenging part, is me just troubleshooting with them, because I can't be with them physically to say, this is how you get on Zoom, this is how you use Zoom, this is how you get your kid to use Zoom, this is how you get your kid to go to this part, this is how you get to talk to me. So, and then I'm working with 5-year-olds. So a lot of my day is me doing a read aloud and then me listening to 5-year-old jokes. So like that has been, I mean, luckily, like I definitely taking this very lightly, but I'm pretty sure there are teachers who are taking this very seriously, and watching 5-year-olds stick their tongue at you and tell you jokes half the day is very funny. But like I said, it's a good change for me anyway.
So Andrea, what has it been like for you, this whole online experience?
Well, I want to say, luckily, my children are not taking part in the online experience as of yet. Right now, both my kids, I have an 8-year-old and a 5-year-old, they attend public school in Connecticut. And they are receiving packets from school. So for the first 2 weeks that they were off, the teachers sent homework with them, and then another packet was sent home today for the next 2 weeks. So that's kind of how we are doing it in our school district. And I think it's because a lot of students don't have access to internet and computers. So we're kind of trying to make it accessible to all families, which I'm really having a difficult time with, because I do understand, teachers and the school system trying to move into this online space because they want children to have that face-to-face interaction with their teachers. But not everyone has Wi-Fi.
Mhm.
Not everyone has computers, and there might be just one computer in the household, and there might be 5 children in the household that all need access to the computer. So I'm kind of having a difficult time. I'm happy that, there is, this work that's being provided for families. But I'm also kind of struggling thinking about families that are currently going through this online learning space and they don't have access to it. And then also teachers who are having to take these crash courses, like you were saying, to try to figure out how to use Zoom and Google Classroom. It's a lot for everybody right now.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, Kwame, what about you? How's this online experience working out for you?
Similar experiences. The immediate shift was rough, and it had been rough for anyone. Our school did not do many things when it came to preparing for this. We had, like, district-wide, we had our 3 days to do an online training, but it was so much said in our school to say that, as long as you have a way of connecting to your parents, or you got a way to connect to your students, then your training's complete. Just keep going. So it went from that navigating ambiguity to being online with the students, and then having to really face what it means to not know where we're going next.
Mm-hmm.
That's been pretty frustrating, just because of how difficult it is to go out on the internet and find 150 students. But I will say that the students who have figured it out, the students who have become the networkers and like groundkeepers of their classrooms or of their communities, a lot of my students have really stepped up and gotten this thing on the road for us. So I do want to tip my hat off to those individuals.
So Melissa, what has it been like for you and just a BX girl? How is she holding up with this online experience?
Well, I think she's loving it. She doesn't have to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning. She gets to see her teacher for a half hour, and that's pretty much what the school sent her to do. So our school is doing kind of a hybrid. They send home packets for the 4 weeks. So the teachers are she's only in first grade, so it's not a really difficult curriculum. So the teachers are doing 15 minutes of Wit and Wisdom, which is their ELA curriculum, and 15 minutes of their math. And so that's what the half hour does. It's her 2 teachers, and 4 students from her class at a time. So for her, she's blessed though. I think, again, something that Andrea said really is where I want to go back to, is where, some of these kids have and some of these kids don't. So she has her own laptop. She's familiar with how to use a laptop. She's familiar with video chatting with her aunts and her god siblings. So this isn't brand new to her. So she was already ahead of the learning curve on it. So when she gets there, she's ready to work. We got our report cards and she's reading on a 3rd grade level. She's excelling in math. So this isn't really difficult for her to pick up, but I sit near her, not next to her, because when she's in school, she doesn't have me there. So I don't sit next to her teaching. But a lot of the parents are sitting next to the children because they need that additional support. This morning we had 2 breakdowns in class, one because a little boy didn't get through his writing, and the other one because little girl couldn't follow what the math curriculum was doing. And the teachers are limited in what they can do and how they can support when a child's crying through a computer screen, which, I'm sure you're dealing with when you have a bunch of 5-year-olds in front of you. But those kind of things. So I think, I want to applaud our educators for jumping in and trying to throw the water out of the sinking ship, so to say, because there's no way to have made this perfect for everybody. There's no way to have been able to provide technical support and curriculum support and lasting education and social involvement and everything else to these kids so quickly. But I think that, it's a really tough place as a parent too, because you still have to manage life. and you still have to make sure that they're not getting lost in this curriculum, which whether it's the packets or the online or an hour long or 5 minutes or an assignment from this teacher, an assignment from that teacher based on their grades. We're really blessed. Again, she's always done outside work. She's always had additional curriculums that I've had her work on outside of what she does in her school. So for her, it's just like, okay, well, now instead of doing it once a week, I'm going to do it 5 times a week because I only have a half hour with my teachers. Whereas for other children, they're only getting that half hour of curriculum time because that's all their parents can give them.
So I'm going to throw that to you, Letitia. Do you think it's an issue that kids are not being able to see their teachers? And we understand the digital divide. We know some students don't have access, but just off that top, like, do you think we as educators should be working with either Google Meets, Google Hangouts, Zoom, or any other video software platform or program where teachers can see their kids and what that means if they can see their kids?
I think it's if it's possible, I think it's necessary. Like from the 1 week that I've been working online, I definitely see, like, I'll ask the kids something simple like type your name into the computer, and I'm see the parent doing it. Or I'll say, I don't know, show me the number 7, whatever. And I see the parent writing the number 7 and showing it. And it's like, well, that's not me teaching them, that's you doing it. And so that takes away from the child learning if you're doing it for them. Or I'll have them I'll ask them to like draw the problem and solution to the story. And I'll see a kid that I knew was not writing when I left him. All of a sudden he has like words written that he would not be able to do before. And so I feel like it's almost necessary for me to be there so I can kind of see what's happening and then kind of teach through that. I feel like if I'm not there, a parent will teach their child, and that's important for them to do that, but they won't get a sense of like what actual teaching is. And then I also feel like one thing that I did for the first 2 days was just let the kids just see each other. Like them being able to connect with somebody else for a few minutes, I feel like is very important for them. Like I said, like most of the time, like I'll teach for 15 minutes and the other 15 is them just saying hi to their friend, or I see you're wearing this, or sticking their tongue out, like I said, or wanting to tell a joke. They wanted to connect with somebody different they haven't connected to in a little while. And the teacher was that person that did that for them. So I feel like it's important for them to have that person that connects them to somebody else that's not the people in their house. So as much as I was able to kind of get them together to do that, I've been trying to like find all of the parents. My school luckily had extra laptops, so we were able to get them out to most of the parents. They are sharing them with their siblings, so that I've had a couple parents tell me that they're like, they're sharing it. So just like, they're like, not going to be online all the time. And I've been respectful of that. I also sent out a survey to the parents just asking if the time that I chose worked for them so that I can kind of work out with them to see each other at different times. But I think it is kind of important for them to kind of have that teacher there to make that connection.
Andrea, what is it like for you?
Well, I'm personally not in the classroom right now, but my 2 children, so my daughter's teacher has sent video, but because their school is not doing an online space right now, the video is her interaction, and she definitely does miss seeing her face to face. Like her face lit up when she received that video from her teacher. It meant so much to her. So what I've been doing kind of on the side of that was having my daughter and my son too, they have play dates via Zoom with some of their classmates and organizing that so that they're getting that social piece. My son is very, very social. And so he is missing that connection with people outside of the family. So it's vital. It really is. And it really adds to like some type of a normalcy of things for them when they have that consistent presence, those faces that bring them joy in front of them. It really helps because we are in the middle of something that is pretty intense.
Kwame, how are your students doing? Are they showing up online?
I get about half the class that actually will show up for the Zoom workshops, and I think that's a pretty good number based on thinking about who has the access to do it or has the ability to do it, and juggling whatever else is going on at home. And much like you guys are saying, like I really thought it was important to create an avenue for that FaceTime. Not so much for me, for them to just look at each other and be able to be silly and be 11-year-olds. I remember like Monday was my first Zoom cast, and the first group that I had, it's a class 601, they all just, as soon as they saw each other's face, and weren't actually saying anything, they were just smiling and laughing. No one had told a joke. It was just the sheer joy of them seeing each other was that just taking over them. And like I totally threw what I wanted to do that 30 minutes out the window, because I understood how important that was for them. And this is coming off of, that was the week after, that was 2 weeks after the dismissal became so rapid. Like it went from 9 a.m. they were told that nothing was going to happen, and then 10:30 they were told that they could take all their stuff home, but you could come to school on Monday, but whatever. It was a bunch of mixed messaging that you felt it in the building. The kids were confused, they were nervous about it, and then it shut down completely, and none of their questions got addressed, or they didn't understand what was necessarily happening. So I think giving them the FaceTime that day and then moving forward was so important for them to just get normalized with the idea, understand that this isn't forever, but this is the time that we're in, and be able to move forward effectively.
So Melissa, being a parent of a child who's going through the online learning process, what are some of the pluses and minuses that you've experienced with your 1 week of using it so far?
Well, I definitely say the social interaction is a major plus. Like everybody's been saying, that face-to-face is critical. Just them being able to see their teachers lets them know that the world's okay. It's, and nothing feels right now. Everything seems strange, but this is who I'm supposed to see every day. The social interaction, just to be ex-girl's an only child. So right now she's stuck at home with me and grandpa, and I don't want to play any more board games, and I don't want to do any more crafts, but that's really all she has. So her and her friends are now getting on like 10 minutes early, and they're getting to like tell jokes and show each other their toys. And, the teacher has a shelter dog that she was able to share with them. So that social interaction is definitely the biggest plus, I'd say. For us, it's also a plus because we have a little bit more free time because of distance learning. Our schedule's usually packed. We're out of the house at 7 a.m. We don't get home till 5:30. Then it's homework, bath, dinner, bed. So it's not a lot of like time to spend together. It's not the time for the playing. It's not the time for the creating during the week. So because the days cut shorter now, there's a lot of that. I do worry though about, what's next. Now these kids are adjusting to this. They, like Kwame was sharing in his class, like they didn't even get a chance to figure out they had questions before they got thrown into this. For the little ones, they're kind of just like going along for like, okay, well, this is what I do. But that what's next, I think that's where a lot of us are going to suffer with, when the schools open back up. If they open back up this year, what does that really mean? Is it going to be safe to send them to school? How are they going to adjust being back at school? What is it going to look like for their grades? One thing that I feel like nobody's really talking about is standardized testing. Standardized testing, and I mean, we don't have to worry about that. We're in first grade, but it got thrown out the window and nobody's batting an eye at it. But usually it's what the whole year's towards. So if we didn't have to bat an eye at it now, can we forget about it next year? Can we start showing parents that this isn't something that's about their children, that is something that's more about money and where the teacher, the principals think the teachers are supposed to go and all the other stuff? Because a lot of our parents, my daughter goes to school in District 7, one of the poorest districts in the Bronx, in the city. But I choose to travel there 45 minutes every day because I love her school. I love the community that her school has. I love what they've built. But now they're focusing on testing more because they need to keep their doors open. So there's so many parents that don't even know that testing is an option. So what happens for those parents that are, might have just learned it? Now do they feel like they're pressured into it? Or can we now show parents? And I know this is kind of going away from the distance learning a little bit, but I think it kind of goes in hand because it's that what's next step. So can we now show parents that this testing doesn't matter? It's about the interaction. It's about the relationships that our children build in school. It's about how do we work together with the teachers. A lot of parents are working together with the teachers for the first time probably all year. The teacher shared she didn't even have contact information for some of her parents. That's not because she didn't want that information. That's because they didn't return blue cards, they didn't return school contracts, and they didn't show up at parent-teacher meetings. So, you know, we're showing that what's at the bottom of our kids' education is relationships. It's about the connection that they have to their teachers, to their friends, the connection we have to their teachers, the connection that we can call up. You know, Andrea's already making play dates with her children's friends, you know, being able to have those connections. So can we use this and make a positive shift to it, where now it's not so much about 1 + 1 and how to use an arrow to get to the next 10, but how is it that we get our kids to the next level for real?
Excellent. And we're going to get into the administration and their responsibilities as well, and how they're assisting teachers and assisting parents. We'll come to that. But I want to go to Andrea and ask you, for your two children, what's some of the feedback that they've given you about the online experience, the pluses and the minuses?
Well, again, my kids, they're really just receiving videos from their teachers. And so they've really been enjoying that piece of it. And because I was a teacher for 12 years, I know what I'm doing with them, which is definitely a blessing. So they have mommy as a teacher, and I'm going through the assignments that the teachers have given. And I do try to stick to some sort of a schedule just so that they can get into a routine. And they are enjoying that, but it's different. And it's a hard adjustment. But I think the important piece of it, and this is 100% like my piece that I have to bring to the table, is being flexible with all of this and not really allowing them to see any stress or anxiety that I might be feeling, and just to kind of just let them lead the lessons that I'm doing with them. So I'm kind of feeding off of their energy. If my son is working on something or my daughter is working on something, and I can get a sense that either they're feeling a little bit fidgety or they're just not feeling it at that particular moment, we're going to pause and take a break and go outside, or we're going to pause and take a break and go get a snack. So I think that I'm learning so much from this experience and not being so rigid because, you know, being in the classroom, being type A in the classroom all the time, everything's like, but this experience has shown me, you know, really like let the children lead.
Excellent. Letitia, we're going to jump into admin and support.
Mhm.
What has your school administration, your principal, what kind of support are they giving you? Do you feel like it's enough and that it's helpful, or do you feel like they're lagging somewhere?
Well, in the beginning, they kind of came off really strong. Like they was like, we have these lesson plans you need to do. You need to base it off these packets. You need to do this. You need to make sure you look a certain way when you're on camera. When we're having meetings, you need to have your face shown. You need to think about what you're wearing. So it definitely threw a lot of the teachers off in the beginning, because it was like, wait, hold on. Like, I'm a person and I'm going through something too. And yes, learning needs to happen, but you didn't ask me how I was doing. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you didn't ask me like how I'm gonna be able to do this. And I don't have children, but a lot of the teachers there do. So it's like you're asking me to be available from 7:55 to 3:25 without any concern for the people that live in my house. So I think towards the middle of the week, they understood that. And they definitely backed off and said, you know what, like, whatever you guys can do, you can do. Let's work this out together. They started doing like little like meetings during the middle of the day, like lunch meetings, just to kind of, online lunch meetings, to kind of see where everyone was and just say, look, we want to like revolutionize education, but we also want to respect you. So I think it's interesting because, like I said, like, because I'm in a charter school, charter schools are kind of known for trying to change education and how you look at it. And so they still have that in their back burner of like, how can we capitalize on this? But I think that we're forcing them to see that, like, it's only been 5 days. Can we just see how the kids are doing? And that's it. Like, can we just see if they come online? Can we just make sure that they are having like 2 hours of normalcy, or they learn something, that's great. If they can be a part of something, that's great. If they can feel like this 2 hours is, you know, something that they can learn from, that's fine. But can we just at least make sure that everyone that's in our community is okay? Can we do that first? So I think that they're starting to realize that. We had like a little happy hour at the end of the Friday, and a lot of it was spent with just saying like, "Whew, guys, we made it through, and I hope you guys are all okay." So hopefully that continues, but it does make me nervous that they're going to try to figure out ways to make us do more than we are physically able to do. So.
Letitia, I have a follow-up for that. As far as the teachers are concerned, have any teachers refused to actually get on camera for this virtual learning?
You know what? No, I haven't heard anyone say that they don't want to do it. I've had a lot of teachers not be able to do it, like not be able to figure it out. One of my teachers, I guess just for her own cultural or personal life, she didn't have internet in her house, so she had to go get internet in order for her to do her job. And I think that was a life adjustment for her. But she was willing to do it, which she could have said no. My family life, the way we live our life, we don't have electronics in our house, but she chose to do that. So no one's really pushed back like that. Surprisingly, they push back more on the paperwork aspect of it, whereas it's like, we just want to teach. This is the actual opportunity for us to teach. Can we just do that without the paperwork burden of it? And so that was where most of the pushback has been.
So Kwame, what has it been like for you in terms of support from your school family and the administration?
So the administration, I'm going to go back to those 3 days we had as a training. When we started that week off, our admin has always played the role of like, we'll let our teachers decide what they want to do and how they want to get things done. We, as in the admin team, will step in when things aren't going right or when we get new instructions. So our admin was a very, very much a backseat role. There was no real instructions to design an online classroom. The only real thing that happened in those days of preparation was they made sure that everyone had either a Schoology or a Google Classroom account. That was all. What we found later, like through email chains and like throughout this past week, is they are considering more ways of supporting us and more ways of streamlining this throughout the school and making this a concerted effort from the entire school. But what often happens in our school is that the teachers are the ones who band together and create the protocols. So you saw that there were science teachers who had an email chain going on, like, yo, okay, how do we now turn all of this stuff into a Zoom class? And are you doing Zoom? Because I'm doing Zoom, or I'm doing Google Classroom screens. Like the teachers themselves put the resources together and created what our remote learning is. But the admin level wants to come in now and have like have formalized meetings for next week, have expectations and attendance collection and whatnot, being able to show that there's engagement happening. I would have preferred it to be in the beginning of it all. I would have preferred it to be like an expectation we all were held to, rather than something we had to build and show the evidence of why it's needed. But I understand that they are as much as a part of a bureaucracy as we are, and their instructions probably came in by the minute, and we were given what we were given and had to make the best of it. As far as other teachers, you had to follow up with Letitia about like other teachers being reluctant to do it. I don't want to say that they're reluctant to do it. I do think that there are some folks, and this isn't necessarily at my school, but I do think there are some folks who may be seeing this as a way to slide away from a lot of responsibilities.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to be the person that brings up that perspective, but it is a real factor. I know some students who could be like, they're in different classrooms and also different schools. I mean, you follow Instagram, you follow Twitter, TikTok, all that stuff, that there's some students that are just like, wow, I don't know where Mr. Such and Such is. I don't know where this person is. I haven't heard from some of the adults in their lives. And whether the student shows up as a good student or a bad student, X, Y, and Z in the classroom, they care enough to get that interaction from you in some kind of way. So there are folks who either, for whatever reasons, they haven't transversed this new platform, and the kids are noticing.
Mhm.
How
Anyone?
I move forward with that, I'm not sure how it's going to go.
No, yeah, it's a good perspective. Anyone can answer this next question. I'm concerned about these internet cable bills and all the stuff that, some people might have to start paying, or you might have to increase your internet speed because, they charge in tiers and nothing is like equal,
Mhm.
just to get stable internet for the whole day. And we got this whole $1 trillion stimulus package. Like, how much is that is going to go to teachers, even parents, to help pay for those cable bills and stuff like that, or devices parents might have went out and got, or an extra phone that they got for a student, or had to pay for the extra line that they might have got for the students. What do you think about that? Do you think the government, the city, the state is going to reimburse us for all of those all those fees we're going to incur? Well, anybody could take that question.
I don't think that we're going to get reimbursed, but I do think that there are some companies that are taking that into consideration. I know that there's a number of like AT&T and Xfinity, and I think Sprint and Verizon, they have hotspots that you can link into that are free. So they're trying to make it accessible for folks who may not necessarily be able to afford a full package right now. So that, that's an opportunity for them to kind of build on their brand and actually show that they are supporting families and teachers right now by offering this free Wi-Fi service. But the powers that be have, I think, a different motive here.
Well, it's a nice gesture for the free hotspots, but we're in quarantine. So if that hotspot don't reach my home, am I supposed to go outside to get the hotspot? The libraries are closed. A lot of places where you might go to get some free Wi-Fi, Dunkin' Donuts, whatever, may be closed. You definitely don't want to be sitting in there doing work.
Can't sit in there.
So if you ain't got the hotspot coming in your house, it's a cold spot because there's nothing for you. You can't use it.
When I was talking about like what happens next, I think this is like one of those prime places where we need to look at what's next. Hopefully something like this will never happen again, but this is a prime example of, earlier somebody mentioned like the social divide. This is a perfect example of how every child needs internet. Every child needs a device. So, our school isn't a technological school, so we never get approved for grants for tablets and laptops and things like that. But a charter school down the block, I know last year got every one of their students Wi-Fi and a tablet through a grant. So it's looking at, these are things that every student needs, because there are students that right now don't have it. There are students that can't do face-to-face because they're calling in and they're missing that component that's vital. Especially I think for the younger ones, that the older ones, I think it's hard enough because they just don't want to do it. Like it takes a lot for, what Kwame said, they're showing up. When they show up, they're showing up. But for the little ones, they need that redirection. They need that refocus of seeing, Miss Jessica in the morning, smiling at them and giving them those target points to know what they're supposed to do. But I know like Spectrum was one of the ones that was talking about having a deal for 3 months free internet or something. And I know one of the parents in our class had called up to find out about it. And the internet was going to be free for 3 months, but they were going to charge $100 for the modem or the routing, whatever it was that they needed to come in to do, they're charging $100. So there's not a lot of parents right now that have $100 in their pockets that can take something for something that's free for 3 months, and they got to come and pick it up again, or you're stuck into a contract. So I think it's looking at, we're at a point now that internet isn't a luxury. Internet's a necessity. And if it's part of what our children need to succeed academically, then it needs to be provided academically. It's something that needs to be aligned in next year's educational budget. Every school needs to have a line that says if we have 352 kids in our school, and I know that's, most schools have more than that, but if we have this many kids in our school, how do we get them all a tablet? How do we get them all a laptop? How do we get them all internet service? And then hopefully we need it all.
Yeah, I called Spectrum to see if I could get a discount, and Spectrum was like, no. Still got to pay that bill, and my bill is high. I did call Adobe because I use their editing software and stuff like that. Adobe gave me 3 free months access.
Okay.
So shout out to it. And they gave me a discount going forward after
But that
this
is
month?
something to think about though, because like certain things you get a write-off for your job. So now I need internet in order for me to physically do my job.
Yep.
And there's no write-off for that, and there's no discount for that. They said that students can get it for free. They didn't say anything about educators getting it for free.
Wow.
So now, and if I don't come online, that's it. Like I can't do my job, but yet I'm required to have internet. So it is something to bring up. But then on the other hand, as you were saying, nothing is free. So it's almost like, okay, so now we're getting people used to being able to do things at home, getting teachers getting used to being able to teach from home, and parents and students being able to do this from home. So now let's say we go back to normalcy, this component is not going to go away, because now it's like, oh, now you all have a new skill now. So now
Yep.
if I call you at 5 o'clock, I know how to reach you online and you have the ability to do it. Or we're now going to do work from home, or like that. What comes next? I can't even imagine it, but being able to do these skills are not going to just disappear now. It's not going to be like, oh, we used to do that, for a month back in in March, but now it's June now, forget about that. No, it's going to be a factor that I don't know how we're going to use this, but I know it's going to be something that's going to be used later on.
Because are we in unison with the platforms that we're using, or do we have liberty to use whichever platforms we feel works best for us? So I'll come to Kwame with that. Um, are you restricted to what you can use and told what you can use, or do you have the liberty to use what you feel is going to work best for your classroom?
So I've always used Schoology, all 4 years of me being a teacher. There's no recommendation from the school that I work in to which platform I can use, kind of do what I want there. Most of the teachers in our building also use Schoology. And then if you don't use Schoology, you either don't have an online presence or you're using Google Classroom. There's not many other servers or platforms that the school uses. But it's all teacher decision. I think that because I had my Schoology site up and going, I never really posted like the worksheets and whatnot onto it as I have to now. But my students were comfortable navigating where to turn in their assignments and how to look at their own grade book. They knew what was going on in that regard, and they also knew how to sign up for the classes that teachers had just created within that week of training. But unfortunately, and this could be unfortunate or fortunate, there's no like mandated website to be using. I know that a lot of teachers who designed the Google Classroom, there's a big struggle right now with like just learning how to go through Google Classroom, especially if the student came from me in 6th grade with Schoology, and now they're in 7th grade with you, and you have Google Classroom that you just made this week. So that's becoming a challenge amongst the staff now.
Letitia, what is it like for you?
We were told to use Google Classroom and Zoom, and that was it. So in terms of using anything else, well, I was using Class Dojo before this happened. That was just more of a way of like incentives for kids and then a way for me to talk to parents. When this happened, I actually had to use it a lot more because I didn't have all of the parents' email addresses to put them on Google Classroom. So I had to have something to communicate with them and then give them assignments or, assignments. So I've been able to post my classwork there and have the kids take pictures of their work and send it back to me. So that's been pretty helpful. The school said you could use it, but they don't really want to because then they can't monitor it. But I've been using that primarily for now, and I'm trying to get my kids onto Google Classroom, but it's not as user friendly as Class Dojo is. So we'll see what happens. But like it is a lot easier for me to use Dojo than Google Classroom.
Got it. To my two parents, have you been told what platforms that the teachers are going to use, or were you able to have input as to what you feel is best for your child to work with? on whatever platform you guys prefer?
Our school uses Google Meet. We didn't have any choice in it, just all the teachers are using it. And then we've always had Classroom Dojo. So the teachers still send messages there. They reiterate what the homework is. They answer questions there. But for the kids to meet is Google Meet.
Okay.
And for me, my daughter's kindergarten teacher, she used the Remind app. So she's been on that since the beginning of the school year. We've used that application she sends the morning message through that platform as well. And any messages throughout the day. My son's teacher does not. So it's just email communication with her. So different techniques, different, I guess, spots of education. Like my son's teacher has been in education for a longer period of time and may not feel as comfortable with those other platforms. So she's choosing just to use email and was given the ability to do that. But my daughter's teacher is using other things and also giving us different platforms that we can possibly link into so that our children can have access to different things too.
So for your son, do you feel like that's sufficient enough, being that your daughter is getting so many other ways to communicate with the teacher and learn?
I think the lack of face-to-face for him, that is what's missing from the email correspondence. Like I sent the teacher a video of him today via email. So I do think that there's a missing component there. But I mean, honestly, I feel like the whole situation is something that we're all adjusting to. So I don't think my daughter is really getting anything more than my son, except her teacher has been able to send her a video and my son's teacher hasn't. But I'm still getting communication from my son's teacher. It's just via email. It's not via, anything that's anything fancier than that. And my daughter's teacher is just using something that is a little just fancier, I guess, for lack of a better word.
So the last question I want to ask is for all of you guys. I want to build a list of important things we can tell parents how to navigate through the online experience. And you guys being educators in the classroom, moms of children who are in the classroom, what are like 2 important things you would want to say to the parents that can help this experience move more smoothly? And I'll start with Letitia.
Oh boy, it's a big question.
Isn't it?
I think the biggest thing for me is just really teaching independence. Because this thing is online and because I was teaching independence before, this happened, I think that's like the biggest thing. Like your kid can do it, and your job is to guide them through that. So whether it's washing the dishes or writing their name or learning about frogs, let them do it. And our job is to guide them through that. And then the other thing is that, that's like a bigger thing I want to say, but I'm not sure how it's going to come out. But like, school is everything and school isn't everything, if that makes sense. Like, there's so many things that they need to learn. And me being in front of you like this is only one part of it. Like, the one almost good thing about this is that now school is everywhere. So no, we're not allowed outside, but the school is everywhere. So we got to take advantage of that. And there's so many things that the kids can learn now that they're not in that school box, if that makes sense. And I'm only with you for an hour or 2 hours now. So now you have the whole day to learn about so many other things. Let's use that now. So I think those are the 2 things that I would want to tell parents is like, teach them how to be independent and teach them how to learn things outside of the school's box.
Excellent advice. Andrea, what would you say?
Honestly, I say take care of your mental health. I mean, that goes for everybody that is going through this right now. That's number one, because you can't serve your children or your students if you are not feeling right. So really take care of yourself. And one thing that when I'm working with the teachers right now is just like take a breath, and also with families, take a breath. And if you are feeling overwhelmed with anything that you are doing, if you are feeling overwhelmed with the content that you are now expected to teach your children, just get a book and just read with them. and that's it.
Mhm.
So just really take care of yourself. And if you are really having a hard time with the curriculum that's being thrown at you, then just sit down and read and building those connections with your kids.
Yeah.
Kwame, what would you add to the list?
And two things would be in addition to Andrea's, so the self-care piece I think is of critical importance, especially at a time like this. Uh, many parents are going to see their student or their child feeling stress, and maybe feeling stress in this way for the first time. Helping them to manage that and navigate that is going to be super critical right now. And then the second thing is persistence. I think I think that I saw a lot from today. Today, a lot of my assignments were due online, and students often in the classroom, they can see what their classmates are doing, and they understand that as the acceptable response or the acceptable design. But with the activities I gave as this online assessment, they could have did a poster, they could have took a picture, they could have looked up this, they could have did so many different options. And almost at the same exact time, they're all asking me, can I do this? Or is this acceptable? Is this real? Is this anything? And I wrote back the same message to them all. It's like, as long as you think that it's right, or you've put the work into it and you designed it, yes, the goal was to design something. So I think the persistence and stick with itness, or just the confidence in your child, I think that's another like big lesson that we should be teaching our kids throughout this experience. Having confidence and faith in yourself.
Melissa, what would you add?
I think my two messages are two messages that I have for parents all the time. The first is that it's not only a teacher's job to educate your children. So this is a perfect example of it. Our teachers are working really hard. You know, they had 3 days to figure out how to teach the next month to our kids. So they're not going to get to teach them everything. They're not there with them. So, and there's a lot of resources available right now for free for parents online, you know, between YouTube and Khan Academy and everything in between. You can get your master's degree and stuff at the age of 7 right now. So, you know, use those resources that are available there. Always supplement your child's education, and then you don't have to worry as much when these kind of things happen. And do that to the best of your ability based on your schedule and etc. The second is, you're the perfect parent to your child. You're your child's parent for a reason. You're going to make the best decisions. So while one child might be learning French and Italian in the middle of this, if what works for you and your family is letting your child play video games for 8 hours a day, because that's how you're going to get your work done and you're going to get dinner done and you're just going to be okay, then that works for you. Don't worry about everybody's perfect squares on Instagram. Don't worry about what, you know, the kid that always has their hand up in the class. Do what works for your family.
Excellent. And the two pieces of advice I would give to parents is be conscious of how you look when your child has that video camera throughout your household, right? We hearing loud music, we're hearing loud telephone conversations, music, a lot of things going on in the background. We had some parents like walk through the camera in their bathrobe and they PJs and all of that. So other kids are seeing this. They're seeing what's in the house. They're hearing what's going on in the household. And parents really have to be conscious of that. And if you can, I know space might be limited and things of that nature, but try to provide a spacious, comfortable environment where the child could just sit down, relax, and learn. So that's one thing that the parents need, the family members who are in the household need to consider. Second thing is, it's okay to say thank you to a teacher. The same way we're talking about the nurses on the front line and the people stocking the shelves, they are heroes right now. All these teachers who are doing the right thing and going above and beyond are heroes too, because they're busting their butt, learning new technology, maybe even spending some money to be able to use technology to work with your children. And you should give a thank you to the teachers for that as well. So that's what I would say to the parents. I want to thank you guys for coming on and sharing your experience, your knowledge, and your expertise in the field of education and training young kids to be our leaders in our future. And that's very important. You guys be safe, and I will talk to you soon.